The story begins with the Sellers family, Ken, Tammy, and their teenage daughter, Grace. They had recently moved into a beautiful two-story home with wide hallways and charming vintage decor. To an outsider, the house looked like a dream come true. But what they didn't know was that it came with a horrifying secret, the demon named Deomonous. From their first night in the house, things went terribly wrong. Doors slammed shut on their own, shadows crawled along the walls, and Grace began hearing a deep voice calling her name in the middle of the night. Tammy thought it was stress from the move, but Ken knew it was something darker. The entity wasn't just haunting them, it wanted Grace. It wanted her soul. Terrified, the Sellers family decided to sell the house. But no one in their right mind would buy it once word got out. That's when they came up with a disturbing plan. Instead of revealing the truth, they'd rent it to someone gullible enough to take the deal. That someone turned out to be Will. Chapter 2, Enter Will. Will was the kind of guy who seemed stuck in life. A 30-year-old who worked as a customer support agent for an online toothpaste company. He was underpaid, heartbroken after his breakup with me, and always searching for a cheap place to live. When he saw the ridiculously low rent for a house that looked like a mansion, he didn't even think twice. "It's perfect," he said, smiling at the Sellers family. "Are you sure about the price? It feels like a steal." Ken and Tammy exchanged a nervous look. "Oh, we're sure," Tammy replied with a forced smile. "Just make yourself comfortable." And so Will moved in, completely unaware of the demon lurking inside. Chapter 3, The First Night. On his very first night, the haunting began. As he unpacked boxes, the lights flickered. He laughed it off, thinking it was faulty wiring. But later, when he brushed his teeth in the upstairs bathroom, he saw something horrifying in the mirror, a figure standing behind him, tall, with glowing red eyes. Will screamed, spinning around, but no one was there. His toothbrush fell to the floor, and the toothpaste splattered across the sink like blood. "Okay, maybe I'm just stressed," he whispered, trying to calm himself. But that night, while sleeping on his mattress on the floor, he woke up to the sound of whispering. A guttural voice filled the room. "Your soul belongs to me." Will froze, his body trembling. He wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. A shadow loomed over him, pressing down on his chest until he couldn't breathe. And then, suddenly, it was gone. Chapter 4, The Haunting Escalates. The next few days were even worse. Cabinets slammed shut on their own. Faucets turned on full blast. His phone rang with distorted voices screaming his name. At night, objects levitated and crashed against the walls. Will tried to ignore it, but eventually, the demon made itself fully known. One evening, while he was eating instant noodles, his entire bowl lifted into the air and splattered across the ceiling. Will screamed, but a chilling laugh echoed through the kitchen. That night, he finally met Deomonous. The demon appeared as a grotesque figure with horns, sharp teeth, and eyes like burning coals. It towered over him in the living room, growling in a voice that rattled the walls. "This house is mine. Your soul is mine." Will, terrified but also awkwardly polite, stammered, Sorry about the demon?" That phrase, oddly enough, became his mantra. Chapter 5, Friends Who Don't Believe. Will tried telling his friends, Patrick and Amy, about the haunting. But instead of taking him seriously, they laughed. "Will, you seriously think a demon is haunting your house?" Patrick chuckled. "Yes." Will insisted. "I saw it with my own eyes. It's huge, it's terrifying." "Maybe you need therapy," Amy interrupted, concerned but skeptical. "Even I, when Will called me in desperation, didn't believe him." "You've always had an overactive imagination," I said. "Maybe you just need to move back with your parents for a while." But Will refused. Something inside him told him he had to fight this battle. Chapter 6, The Possession Attempt. Deomonous grew impatient. The demon wanted a soul, and Will was supposed to be his. One night, Will felt an icy grip pulling at his chest, dragging him out of bed. His body floated into the hallway as the walls shook violently. The demon's voice roared, "Submit to me." Will struggled, screaming, "And no, this is my house." Suddenly, Grace, the Sellers' daughter, appeared in a vision. Her pale face whispered, "He wants me. He wants anyone, don't let him win." Will realized then that the demon wasn't tied to him specifically, it was tied to the house itself. Anyone living there was a target, and he couldn't just leave. If he did, someone else would fall victim. Chapter 7, The Research. Determined to end the curse, Will began researching demonology. He discovered that Deomonous had been bound to the house decades ago after a failed exorcism. The demon thrived on broken souls, feeding on despair and fear. The only way to weaken him was through courage, laughter, and reclaiming the home with human spirit. At first, it sounded ridiculous, but Will had nothing to lose. So, he began mocking the demon. When the walls bled, he painted over them with bright, silly murals. When the demon growled, he growled back in a comically high voice. When furniture flew across the room, he ducked and shouted, "Nice try, buddy." And strangely, it started working. Chapter 8, The Final Confrontation. The demon, enraged, launched its most violent attack yet. The entire house shook as though caught in an earthquake. Windows shattered, doors slammed, and Will was hurled across the room. Deomonous appeared in full form, towering above him, roaring in fury. "You cannot defeat me." Will stood up, bruised but defiant. "Maybe not, but I'm not afraid of you anymore. And that's all you've got." The demon lunged, but Will laughed, an honest, fearless laugh. The sound echoed through the house, breaking the demon's grip.